In this question, you're asked to pick one statement that best describes you and one that least describes you. But before we turn our attention to the statements themselves, it's important to remember that these questions aren't asked in a vacuum. Try to think about yourself in the context of the job you're applying for, not just in everyday life, and make sure your answers follow suit. Now, on to each of the statements. The first statement is about how you handle conflict, and choosing most shows a low level of aggressiveness. You're more interested in keeping the peace than asserting dominance when things get tense. The second statement is about how much you naturally trust people. By selecting most, you're reflecting low skepticism. You tend to assume others are honest and have good intentions. The third statement focuses on how you deal with changing priorities. By selecting most for this statement, it shows lower thoroughness but higher flexibility. You're comfortable switching from one project to another instead of sticking rigidly to a single plan. And then the fourth statement deals with your sense of urgency. By selecting most here, it indicates low urgency. You're okay with a slower pace and don't feel a strong need to rush to take tasks to completion. Now, it's also important to note that you might feel that more than one of these describes you well, and that's completely normal. The key is to ask yourself, which description fits the way I want to show up in this specific role? Now let's look at a couple example answer patterns and what they might signal to an employer. So, for example, if you were to choose shifting focus between projects as priorities change as your most, and avoiding conflict when under threat as your least, so these are statements 1 and 3, this would suggest that you adapt quickly when priorities change and are still willing to confront issues directly when you need to. That mix of flexibility and readiness to address problems can work very well in roles such as project coordinator in a fast-moving environment, operations manager, or a team lead in various different disciplines. Another example would be if you were to choose people generally don't have deceptive intentions as your most, or statement 2, and taking time to complete tasks doesn't bother me as your least, or statement 4, this would tell the employer that you are trusting and collaborative and you still care about timely results and keeping things moving forward. And this combination of trust plus drive can be a great match for roles like customer success manager, account executive, or HR coordinator. So when you answer this type of question, quickly decode what each statement is measuring and then choose your most and least from the perspective of the job. This is the key. But at the same time, remember that there isn't one universally correct choice, not even correct for you. The goal is to show the version of yourself that best fits the position you're aiming for.